Hi everyone, today I'm very excited to introduce to you someone that I've known for like the past 10 years. He was 17 the first time I met him. He's an entrepreneur, author, motivational speaker. I'm so pleased to introduce to you Sabirul Islam. Hi Sabirul.
Hello there, Safa. It's an absolute pleasure to reconnect after such a long time.
I know. I've known you when you were a teen, and now you're like a married entrepreneur, and it's amazing. We're gonna catch up on everything you've done recently. Basically, Sabirul, he is a motivational speaker, author. He created a game board for teenagers, mostly based in the UK. And he also launched this campaign for Inspire 1 million people, which he's done amazingly. He's going to talk to us more about it today, and he also did a lot of TEDx talks, and we all know like TEDx, we can connect with so many people. So welcome, Sabirul.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
All right, so Sabirul, the first thing that I would like to, for you to tell us is a little bit more about your journey as an entrepreneur, because you started very, very young. So how did you manage to be taken seriously when you were going like with the adults? And I remember you speaking at an audience which like it was like 100% adult people back at the time when you were like 16 or 17, right?
Yeah, well, so back in 2006, 2007, it was quite challenging in terms of getting the sort of, or being taken seriously, to be fair. But what I saw as a great opportunity is that not a lot of young people at that time were really standing up for what they truly believed in, or sort of expressing their sort of passion and willingness to go and accomplish something which they felt meant something. And at that time, I was really vocal and really strong on the aspects that we young teenagers at the time need something more than what the academic system can just provide us. We don't want to be waiting for getting our degrees and then post that looking for job opportunities, or becoming entrepreneurs, or taking knowledge from just from what is provided through the academics. And I always feel that there's more and more beyond that, and really just trying to influence young generations to think outside the box and to think that they are worth more than what society perceives them to be. And that led to the whole writing of the first book, The World at Your Feet, to really empower a young generation that at that time, even though I was going through a journey, to really give them a voice, speaking on behalf of a young generation who weren't taken serious, and at the time being called the lost generation. Although that tagline is sort of died down now, which is I'm delighted to hear. But back then it was like, oh, Sabirul, you're part of this whole lost generation group. You don't have much opportunities, being left behind by society, and that was quite hard to take at the time. So it was really just being vocal and standing up for what I truly believed in, and just having the confidence to go about and doing that. But again, it didn't happen immediately. You had to connect with a lot of people, stepping outside of the sort of comfort zone. I was still into my A-levels that time, going into big businesses and trying to talk with them, network with them, trying to seek out what are networking events that I could go to, try and share a message that I truly was deeply passionate about. And then that led to sort of connecting with a wide and diverse group of people who truly believed in what I did, and then led to the publishing of the first book, and then post that kind of started my whole journey in the world of business, and from then on, yeah.
Yeah, it's an incredible story and journey. Now, you belong to the pre-social media boom, I would say, like back in time, 2005, 6, 7. I mean, Facebook was existing, but it didn't have this much of an impact that we have today. So how did you manage to actually stand out from the crowd and get your voice heard, basically?
Well, I started speaking. Well, in fact, to be fair, what academics did help me on was actually gaining confidence. I was a drama student back during my time in school, and that sort of helped me expose a certain level of confidence in me that I was able to sort of leverage off with academics. At least some aspects of academics was able to sort of input within my early stages. But again, putting what you learn to practice was a challenging matter. And when you're communicating with people who are immediately as part of your everyday life, you will never sort of break out from that sort of whatever it is you want to learn or whatever it is you want to do and how you want to make an impact. So what I felt was important was connecting with organizations which initially the school or whether the institute had connections with, and then that sort of was a warm lead to sort of crack. And it wasn't necessarily anything to do with you going and meeting people blindly. They don't know who you are, where you're from, or what you're doing. So these are institutes which my school already had connections with. So I'd sort of encourage that. What are the sort of partnering institutes and organizations that young people can get access to via the educational institute, which aren't necessarily highlighted through the academics, but you kind of have to be brave and say, I want to try something different, something new. And when I did get that sort of breakthrough, there were youth organizations, especially like the Young Enterprise or Junior Chamber International, that was trying to give young people a platform. So it's about yourself actually putting yourself forward and saying, actually, I want to be worth more than what society perceives me to be, and I want to have a voice, and I want to shout it out, and I want to say things. Obviously, my first ever speech that I gave, I was like shivering, shaking like a like a leaf, and it was so scary at the time. But when you create your own script, you have a powerful message to share, people will take you seriously. And at that time, age played a huge factor. Not everybody assumes a 17-year-old to stand up in front of an audience of 250 people and actually give a powerful talk. It may not resonate with everybody, but even if you can influence and impact a single member in that audience, you don't know what sort of legacy you'd be sort of leaving behind. And at that sort of time, there was a question that struck me: when you leave this world, what will you be remembered for? Now, people ask me, how come this sort of question strikes you so young? And at that time, I just felt that you're going through a journey in life. You have sort of a meaning and a purpose that you want to identify your sort of existence in this world, that you're not just a statistic to the world, a 1 in 7 billion. You come here with a purpose and meaning. And so what to define and identify that, it's about creating your own pathway. I always feel that you have an infinite number of opportunities, an infinite number of pathways, and it is your destiny to sort of unveil each of those pathways, to sort of identify how you can sort of stand out. And that's what led me to sort of being confident, being brave, and following a passion that I was deeply motivated by. And that's something about impacting young generations, that we can have a voice, we can achieve something, but all in the means of entrepreneurial flair, or doing something which has a business attached to it, or making a difference one way or another, so that when I do one day leave this world, people will remember me for saying, yeah, actually he's made an impact in my life one way or another. And that's what drives me to do what I do.
Yeah, that's incredible, because like, to answer this question, we usually think about it like later, like when we get older, but you thought about it when you were so young. Did you at that time have any specific particular mentor who sort of like,
Oh yes, and it initially started off with my business studies teacher, and then from then it led on to external influences. So being connected with somebody who believed in my idea. For example, I had a wonderful friend who got me in touch with. So when I wrote my first book, I couldn't have done it without a lady called Tina. And what she did was she helped me sort of draft the entire manuscript, put it together, get me in touch with publishers. And then ever since, we've been in touch. So she's got me a lot of opportunities and initiatives. And I got in touch with her through Academy, which was almost very similar to LinkedIn. And I'm not sure if it's a platform that's still out there, but I use that as a lot of professionals used to come on there, share their sort of ideas and thoughts. And I just connected with her through that, saying, I'm Sabirul Islam. I was 17 at the time. I want to write and publish my own book. Can you help me? So that simple element of just asking for help and support really had a huge influence, and people open their eyes and go, oh, you're somebody not from the ordinary, you're somebody different. So we want to be a part of that. And if you're able to have that sort of courage to do something and ask for help and support, you go a long way in trying to build that sort of journey that you want to create. But you cannot do it on your own. You always need the power of people there to support you, buy into who you are and what you believe in.
Do you know of any people who in your area, and specifically in disadvantaged communities, who were able to do the same thing as you, meaning like to go out there and not be afraid, be confident, and reach success?
Well, in nowadays, yes, there's a huge number of influence. from people. And in fact, it's not just any, for example, I've got friends who are from the Pakistani community, Bangladeshi community, from the Indian community that I've grown up with, and who I wouldn't have initially expected them to do something, but they saw others within their sort of society, in their sort of areas, communities, actually doing something, and that inspired them, motivating them. So the power of influence is so important amongst the young generation, that if one person does something, it gives others the belief that they can do the same, if not even better. And if somebody stands up and says they've done something which is so thought-provoking, or something that's so different to what the ordinary society expects, which is part of the matrix system, you're going to school, college, university, you're getting a degree, post that you're looking for jobs and opportunities to really build a career. Why wait till you're age 21, 22, 23? Why not start when you're young? And the fact that, you're creating a sort of a breakthrough for young people, and not just the young generation, but for their parents, their grandparents, to think differently, act differently, and give that sort of mental support, or that sort of support from a very young age, has really transformed the lives of so many people, not just in my local community in Tower Hamlets or in Newham, in London, but also worldwide as well. So when I speak at different audiences around the world, in developing nations, it just completely opens their mind. One great example is when I traveled to Nigeria and Botswana, where very deprived communities at the time, and just speaking to a group of 21, 22-year-olds at the time, which for them, they were like, oh, you have to wait until slightly longer, education isn't finished, you have to get your master, then you sort of kickstart a career. No, you can start it from a very early age. And when their parents attended these sort of conferences, and they were completely shaken by a sort of message that I was delivering, that you can be a somebody from a very young age, it really made a vast impact to them. And then one great example is the young guy from Nigeria flew over to London 6 months later after hearing my talk, and he comes to shake my hand and say, Sabirul, you've changed my life. And that was a really motivating and inspiring factor, which actually led to the birth of the Inspire 1 Million, that if you can go around the world to inspire even a single individual, what is stopping yourself or anybody else from going around inspiring, if not 1 million people around the world? So that's where the idea of the Inspire 1 Million came from.
Amazing. Do you think young people are less worried and concerned about the fear of failure and taking risks? Or what do you think about this?
Well, I think fear is self-taught. Other than the ones you're born with, which is the fear of loud noise and the fear of falling, everything else is taught. So you learn it through natural experiences, through family, through society, through wherever experience you have in life. So if you're able to learn these, you're surely able to unlearn these, and able to give yourself that sort of confidence that you put yourself in a position which you normally wouldn't put yourself in. And then from there, you're able to sort of discover more about you, which you initially thought did not exist. Because every day of our lives, we learn something new. We try and identify what is it about us that makes us who we are, the sort of identity, the algorithms that we have within our sort of DNA, and just to sort of understand more about the sort of personalities that we can unveil, the character that we can become. So I think fear in itself is something so negative, in the sense that you don't want to call it fear. You just want to call it, still you haven't discovered, or you're still in the phase of learning more about you, because you haven't unlearned that element of fear which you initially picked up at some point in your life. So it's about perspective, really, how you see and see life, and how you see the world, and what you see as an initial no, I can't do it, or as a challenge is more of a motivation to actually go and prove to yourself that you're worthy of jumping off or doing a bungee jump or whatever, setting up a business, or trying to go to a well-known investor and asking for $1 million in funding, whatever it is. Just having that courage to practically try something, and then once you've given something a go, you feel that, oh, actually it wasn't as challenging as I thought, or even if it was, what was the mistakes you made and what can you learn from it? So it's having that sort of self-initiative to actually try something, and then making yourself feel better from having given it a go.
Yeah, I love what you said about unlearning to have the fears, basically. It's just amazing. Now, tell me, you've touched like 1 million people. Was it in
Yes.
Africa? And what other continents have you gone to?
Well, I've done 29 countries participated around the world. So they ranged from Latin America, Africa, Middle East, Asia.
Wow.
So all around the world, but especially the ones that really stood out was Africa, because the impact and the audience sizes that turned up. Botswana was a great example, where 200,000 people showed up to the 43 events that I delivered in Botswana. So it was absolutely mind-boggling to think that you can speak in front of such a large audience. I was only there for a period of 12 days, and to think that in 12 days you had 43 events delivered, and 200,000 people showed up. I was absolutely knackered and drained out, traveling the whole country 360 degrees. But when you have a strong and powerful message, and you want to be vocal about something you truly deeply believe in, there are other people who resonate with that so strongly and so passionately that they will go and do the same. So then the local communities within Botswana got involved, and giving young people opportunities post these events. So we had career fairs take place, we had job opportunities, young people who were inspired to become entrepreneurs got funding for their own businesses because they were able to pitch to investors. And all of these happened post these events. So it wasn't just a matter of inspiration. There's something I call the cycle of success, to not only inspire them, but to educate them at the same time through institutes and organizations that already exist, but also to give them that opportunity to go and accomplish something, whether it's securing a job or getting funding for a business or writing their own books or whatever it is they're passionate about, and then ensuring that institutions and organizations were a part of the Inspire 1 Million that can provide that platform for those young people in those host nations.
Yeah, because you've been so close to like the African youth, what would you say is like the biggest dreams of these young people?
To feel like they are worth something, to feel like they are a somebody. And this is a very personal thing. It's not necessarily going out and making millions or being deemed successful by the world. It's actually making them feel that they are worth something by even within their own society and own community. Everybody has unique skills and abilities. You may be 1 in 7 billion, but when I say to everybody that there's only one of you, nobody else like you. And one of the messages that I used to give is, like, if you compare yourself to like a rare piece of diamond, if there was only a single piece of diamond in this world, the value of this diamond will absolutely skyrocket, because the whole world will come chasing after it. So when there's only one of you, shouldn't your value skyrocket too? So it's how you perceive things in life. And when I shared that with them, it really made them feel like they were wanted and they were a part of something bigger, much bigger plans, and that they could have input and an impact in their own community, nationally, or even on an international scale. So it really did depend on how they perceived the message. Some people took it very positively. Some people, yeah, it was great. And some people were like quite challenged by it as well, because the thought of being somebody different was really thought-provoking for them. So obviously they're the ones who needed that extra bit of support, which is why I got in touch with so many different organizations per nation, so that they could have that follow-on support to really make sure that their pathway was going the correct way. Yeah.
Now, you talked earlier about how you networked from a very young age. And in today's world, well, in 2018, a lot of people just stay behind their screens. And that actually, this is a topic that I've been talking a lot about recently in my videos, is the importance of networking. What sort of tips would you give to people who have dreams, but they're like locked in their computers and they don't have much contact and people around them to?
Well, we have the privilege of social media and tools like LinkedIn. Although it is behind screens, you can sort of still do the old-fashioned. I still connect with a lot of people who who share the same values, same beliefs, but have done something which I want to do, or have the knowledge of something that I lack, or that I need to be able to do something even bigger. So connecting with them, meeting face to face, I cannot, I cannot stress enough that how the old-fashioned system still has so much more value than behind the screen. So people I meet face to face, I get to understand it from a human perspective. What can they bring, or what can I add? How can I add value to them? Going to events, networking events, meeting people who have done something completely different in different sectors, that broadens your sort of mindset and broadens your sort of approach to things which you felt that you might not be a part of, or which you might not be able to do, because now that you connect with them, you're able to think on a much more grander, bigger scale. So I would encourage that the more people you connect with, the more sort of options you provide yourself. As I say, infinite opportunities, infinite pathways. It's about giving yourself that sort of ultimate sort of journey and going and seeing what you can do and how you're able to do it. The only limitation we have is time. And everything else is a matter of mindset. That the only thing you limit yourself to is because you feel that you cannot do it, or you don't want to do, or you procrastinate a lot. That's why I believe the whole idea of infinite opportunities and infinite sort of number of people you can get connected with.
Now, you are currently working on an app and a book, and at the same time, we're helping disadvantaged communities within your. Is it within your Inspire 1 Million campaign, or is it?
It's still continuing, even though the 1 million is reached, because the demand is so high. So just I think in 2-3 weeks time, I'm back off to Bangladesh, and there'll be the 5th time I'll be going back there as part of the Inspire 1 Million. They want to hear the story, and they want me to influence a number of stakeholders, which are all from around the technology industry, the international relation between India and Bangladesh. So you get invited for these sort of events to really showcase or to share the sort of Inspire 1 Million message on a grand scale. So yeah, and Africa continuously as well. So later on this year, I'll be going again to some of the African countries that I was initially participating, and then continue the sort of campaigns over there. So that's really exciting stuff.
Now, you're working on this app and the book, and you're doing so much and creating so many things. How do you manage to do that, really? Can you give us like specific tools or a routine that you're using to achieve so much?
Well, with the CRM that I use, in fact, I only just got into that recently. And one thing I'd try and influence a lot of people is to be made accountable. And I learned this of my mentor, that if you're not made accountable for your own actions or the sort of things you need to do, you will always feel lazy, or you wouldn't want to do something. So there has to always be someone nagging in the back of you saying, no, have you completed this task? Or even if you are a self-entrepreneur, self-starter, you need a mentor who can sort of, review what you've done every so and so weeks and say, okay, have you achieved these goals that we set initially? And if no, why? So I'm always made accountable now for what I do. And we have follow-on meetings every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, just to see where I've gone. All the people I connect with, make sure I follow up with them every few weeks or so, every month or so, just so that I keep engaged with them. And this is important to do so that you don't lose connection. Like how we're reconnecting after so long. It's important to reconnect with people you've met over the past 10 years or so, or whatever time period. So you don't know when you will need that person or when they'll need you at some point in life. So again, the accountability is the biggest factor here. So I have a lot of scheduling. I do have a lot of things that happen on CRM, send out a lot of emails to a lot of people, and then tasks that I need to complete each day. And if I don't complete them, I ask myself why. Right? How can I balance everything that I do? Where am I losing time, or where am I spending too much time on something I shouldn't be spending time on? And you have to prioritize your priorities. So to make sure that you're able to complete everything you need to complete in the right manner, so you get the task done efficiently.
We talked earlier about the importance of mindset. Do you have any specific routine when it comes to mindset? Do you meditate, or
no,
that people do nowadays?
Yeah, there are many sort of techniques, many ways you can do it. But I would say I'm a very positive thinker, just purely on the basis that I've grown up in a very sad environment, in a very negative environment. And from that, the moment you sort of break out from that, you look back always and you think you've started from ground zero. Anything and everything else you do cannot reach as low as where you started from. So everything should be seen as a plus point in life. So that should sort of motivate you and drive you to sort of do more, believe in more, and to impact more. That those who initially suffering as you initially did, to raise them to sort of impact and empower them, that they too can also jump out of that sort of negative bubble in life. And that's what keeps me going, because I hear messages and read messages from people sending from all around the world saying, thank yous, or you've inspired me here, you've done this, because of you've done this, I want to do the same as well. People requesting me to be their mentors. So it is very inspiring, and every day, each and every day, these messages come through. It is something that's life-changing, because that question that struck me so young: when you leave this world, what will you be remembered for? I know I'm impacting some people somewhere halfway across the world, and if I can continue that, it's a personal goal of mine to be remembered for something, and that's something which continuously motivates me and drives me to continue to do what I do.
Amazing. Now, what is the biggest lesson that you took from being a teen entrepreneur that served you as an adult today?
Well, something I call the 7 Ps, first of which is positivity, the mindset, having the element of self-belief to go and accomplish something no matter how bad the situation is. Second is passion, doing something you love. And it's always important to not be sort of downbeat by what cultural pressure brings or what societal pressure brings. So to do something you're passionate about, even if there are fingers pointing at you, say no, doctor or engineer is the only way of life, and I face that myself, or university is the only way of life. I think there's so much more beyond that. It's great if you need it and if you feel it can add value, but if you feel it's not for you, there are something more and different you can do. Next is perseverance, hard work, making sure that you do hard work continuously, which is why persistence is also important. The 4th P is persistence, working hard, working smart. The 5th one is purpose, living a life with meaning, because you're almost, I said to a lot of people that your life is like a book. It tells a story. You don't know who is going to inspire and what time and how. So making sure that you're telling a great story about your life that one day you can read to your own grandchildren, your great grandchildren, and say, this is what I did and this is what you can do, and the sort of inspiration figure you can be for generations to come. And having patience as well, that nothing happens overnight. Everything takes time. And when you give yourself time to sort of breathe and to relax and to zone out and to think that what can I do, where can I go, and how can I impact myself, my society, my community, or nationally, internationally, you give yourself, you mind map a lot of ideas and a lot of things. And to only make these happen, you need to believe in the power of people. And that's the 7th P. You connect with people all around the world who can actually help you achieve a certain goal you have, or connect with people who are like-minded, who can help sort of add value, and knowing that it's not just you asking for help from their perspective, but the sort of value you can give to them as well. So it works vice versa. So the power of people is so important. So those are the 7 Ps, which I always iterate to people as part of the Inspire 1 Million, as part of any talk that I give or as any interview, because I think that's what helped me become the person that I am today.
How do you manage to actually motivate people from disadvantages communities? Because as you mentioned, they may be living in a not very positive environment. So how do you get to do that?
You kind of have to analyze the sort of circumstances. Everybody is different. And it's not to say that the same level of impact you'll have everywhere you go, but sometimes it's about touching them mentally, sometimes it's about touching them emotionally. And success is defined differently for different people. For certain people, it can be just a matter of bringing a smile to their face that you've cheered up that day. That gets them to do something more productive for that day, for that period of time. But for me, in disadvantaged communities, when I do go, it's about, as I say, the cycle of success, to ensure that I not only inspiring them to the words that I give or to the message that I provide, but also providing them a platform. So in organizations that can actually give them that follow-up training that they require, or that sort of institute that can give them further education in what they require to be able to build up the skills, whether that's soft skills, hard skills, whatever sort of skills they require, and also a platform to get started in something. So it's that complete cycle which the Inspire 1 Million brought within the 29 nations that took part. So I'm not just leaving 1 million people lingering on inspirational hope that they can be the world's best, or they can be somebody so influential in their communities or wherever, but I'm actually giving them a platform. And it may not be recognized by the entire world, but 29 countries, I would have never even dreamt of myself to go that far. So people bought into these ideas, and then they requested and said, no, we want you to host, come over to our nation and to host to this, because we feel it adds value. And then when you start speaking to people from vast different areas and regions, and the sort of impact you have in their sort of life, no matter how big or small, you've touched them, you've made some level of impact that can help them bring a smile to their communities. And that's all it takes. And the importance of self-belief for them, it's something so big that we often take for granted in developed nations, that, it's an everyday thing. We feel down for whatever small things, someone's blocked us off Facebook, or, not unfriended us here, and small minor things which are not so important when you compare to the issues the world is facing, which developing nations are facing, which third world countries are facing, and the people over there are struggling with. So it's really just bringing them some sort of light. And that's what I felt the Inspire 1 Million did, and the impact it had. And I'm just grateful for the people who supported me along the journey to make it happen.
Okay, if you were to give only one big tip to those people in third world and emerging countries, what would you say for them to reach success and live the life that they want?
Well, seek an external influence, a mentor, someone who has done something more than what you have initially achieved or are looking to do. That way you're able to staircase your way to some form of success more than where you are currently at. And I think staircasing is something so important, that you're not looking up to the celebrities of this world who are a million miles away from you and without, away from reach. Looking at somebody who's done something that's slightly more than what you've done, and then following and believing and seeing them as an inspiration. Once you reach the level, then following the next step further. So you're not sort of blinding yourself or living in false hope. You're giving yourself some form of something that is possible, that somebody else has done within your community, your society, and then making sure you're able to do the same as well. So get yourself a mentor, grab yourself some guidance, and have that belief that you are able to do it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Sabirul, for all this talk. I felt like very inspired today with everything you mentioned and you said. That's amazing.
An absolute pleasure.
So we'll stay in touch with you. Where can we find you?
Well, you can get in touch through my Facebook. So I have a Facebook page, Sabirul Islam Speaker is the Facebook page. On Twitter, Sabirul_Islam, or my website, which is www.sabirulislam.co.uk.
So check out his website, follow him, and then maybe you have your events dates listed already. We can check them.
They're upcoming. Yes, they're also upcoming on the website. So everything that I do is all on my blogs, my messages, videos. They're all through my website. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Let us know down below what is your biggest takeaway from this interview. Also, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. Stay in touch on social media. Bye.